What was it like making Machinima for the Big Red M, and why did I stop? It's something people ask me on and off over the years, especially new people whenever they find out what I used to do as a kid.
Johnson, get off that game and let's go. We got a shipment from Italy we got to retrieve, and if we're late, the boss will be pissed.
Leave me the fuck alone.
And I guess it's a fair question because so many people try to get that goal of being monetized for their work. And, you know, why would anyone who achieved that finally just kind of say deuces, I'm out? So I want to kind of chime in a little bit to that discussion because I've while getting back into this medium, I've done a bit of research on what exactly happened to the network over the years. And I think I see stuff pop up all the time. I think the most recent one, somebody wants to buy the channel and release all the videos. I think that's phenomenal. If they ever do that, I'm gonna hit them up for sure, because I lost so much. And it still irks me to my core. I have a few saved that I have here on my personal channel that's unlisted, but it's not even a fourth of what I put on the network and all the sub channels that they had. But I want to go back before Machinima. I want to talk a little bit about how I got into it, how I first discovered what it was essentially, and that requires us to go to 2006. I think I was about 11 or 12 at the time, and 2006 was kind of the year of Halo for me and my brothers. I'd been gifted Halo 1 back when the Gearbox PC port came out, but I was still really little. I wasn't into shooting games. I was more into Pokemon and, you know, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, shit like that, Zelda. But my older brother, he was really into Halo, and I think it reached a new level for him in 2006 because him and his buddies were trying to get that MLG skills. MLG was really popping off, and you know, everyone wanted to try and get good at Halo, get good. So whenever his buddies weren't available to play with, guess who he had to practice against? Me and my little brother. So it was pretty much being forced every single day to play hardcore settings, FFA on lockout every day. Every single day for a long time. Me, my older brother, and my younger brother would play hardcore free-for-all on lockout. And what ended up happening is I got good. I got really, really good. And that kind of submerged me into everything about Halo. Because when you're good at something as a kid, you know, because of all the self-confidence issues that can come about during that time, especially for someone like me who was, I had pretty bad social anxiety, and I was kind of exacerbated by the fact that I was moving every other year because of being a Navy brat. So I just fell in love with Halo in 2006, plain and simple. And my first exposure to Machinima was a series called Halo 2 Tricks. And that was a series shot by a gentleman called Chris. I think his channel is CM Near. I'm pretty sure it was CM Near. And him and his buddies would just kind of like documentary style film the glitches like BXR, how to BXB, how to super jump on, I don't know, midship, whatever the hell it was. And I just really liked that, oh, you could film. Like, this is actually kind of cool. And that led me to Red versus Blue, of course. And I was like, oh, this is an actual, like, well-written, sequential, episodic story structure going on here. And that blew me away because ever since I can remember, I've been a writer. At my core, I've always written in some capacity. So when Halo 3 came out, I think that's when I discovered Master Chief Sucks at Halo. Because, no, that was during the beta. After the beta is when I discovered Master Chief Sucks at Halo, because that was filmed during the beta, and he released it afterwards. The man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. John Graham, Mr. Digital Fear. I looked up to that dude so much, man. And I'm glad to see that he's still putting out stuff. But yeah, because I followed his channel and I was waiting for, you know, more of this absurd Master Chief talking through Microsoft Sam. And I noticed that the third episode, the Master Chief Sucks at Halo 3, it wasn't released on Digital Fear's channel. It was released on some channel I'd never heard of called Machinima. And so that confused me. So I checked out the channel. I tried to see what it was all about, and I was blown away. I had no idea that there was a word for a film made within a video game. So I thought it was really cool. And for those of you who don't know, Machinima is a portmanteau of the words machine and cinema. Pretty much anything meant to entertain artistically within a video game engine, like Halo. There was a lot of World of Warcraft Machinima on there at the time, a lot of Sims, a lot of Grand Theft Auto, Gmod, that was another big one, and yeah, I'm pretty sure those were the top ones I remember at the time. But I did learn that it originally started with Quake 3 to be precise. Something about the coding within a early release of Quake allowed people to make little films, and that evolved into the Machinima we know today. So yeah, I looked at all this, and I'm just like, wow, this is mind-blowing right now, because I had just started, I got my very first creative writing class in high school or middle school, whatever I was in at the time, and I really started to kind of try to focus on screenplay writing. And I had all these scripts for various skits, various short pieces that I would want to one day film, but I had no means of filming because cameras are expensive. None of us had these fancy schmancy iPhones back in the day. You were lucky if you had that piece of shit Razor or that slightly bougie at the time T-Mobile Sidekick with the half decent camera that still doesn't hold a T to today. But yeah, I had no way to film it. I didn't have friends. I was a loner. I didn't talk to anyone. So I looked at the potential of filming everything within Halo as a viable way to test out some of my ideas. And I saved up for a Dazzle. Yeah, back in the day we had to use capture cards. I don't even know if that's still a thing, because right now I've been just uploading clips to the cloud and pulling it from the cloud, editing it like that. It comes out pretty decent. But back in the day, you had to have a capture card. And the Dazzle was kind of that budget-friendly $50 piece of crap that kind of sorta did a decent job. So I started off making like scene recreations from movies I really loved. Excuse me. The first one I ever did was that scene from Talladega Nights, the Ricky Bobby movie, where he's just losing his mind, like, I'm on fire! I made that, and I'll probably overlay some of the clips, because I have a few of these. And I did a scene from Harold and Kumar where Anthony Anderson's talking about the secret sauce. Those were all fun to do, and I didn't start to get that was all just really practice, right? How do you capture footage? How do you edit it all together? Apply the voiceover, stuff like that. That was all a really big and all at once learning process. It took a minute to get the hang of things. I think my first decent piece that I uploaded directly on Machinima's website was a show, not a show, it was supposed to be a show. It was the pilot called Best Friends Episode 1. And back in the day, this was like 2000, probably late 2008 is when I came aboard. Late 2008, Machinima had their website. You were allowed to upload videos on their website because their YouTube presence wasn't quite there yet. So it was still running in tangent. And if your video did well enough, they would just kind of go ahead and upload it to their main page. So at the time, I had a few buddies on their forums, because I really wanted to submerge myself in this culture, in this community. I'm like, okay, I see a lot of usernames that I see on all these videos on the Machinima YouTube page, active on the forums. I'm like, what better way to kind of get myself out there than to be a part of the forums and network and talk to these people, get to know their processes, how they do things. So I was very active on the forums. I got put in check a lot of times because I was a pretty naive, somewhat cocky kid. But it was good. It was good fun. I made a lot of friends through the forum. But yeah, after I uploaded that first episode of Best Friends, which was a really quick Halo Machinima, it wasn't amazing by any means. My microphone was shit. The video quality was shit. But I organized it well enough to be somewhat professional. And the very next day, I got back from school, because remember, this is, mid-2000s. I didn't have a phone that could just kind of browse the internet at school at the time. Came back from school, and that's when I hopped on the family computer and checked my messages, and all these people saying, "Hey, congrats, man, you made it, woo!" And I'm like, what is everyone talking about? So I go to youtube.com, and this was back when we had an actual decent UI, back when we had stars instead of likes, the user interface that made sense, your subscriptions just right away, they're there, in a nice, neat little box. And I see my video, like, front and center before me with, like, I think it was somewhere between 30 to 40,000 views, something like that. And I'm just like, oh my God. So I click it, and I'm reading through a lot of comments, and I saw that it had 5 stars. I saw that all the comments were really positive. They wanted to see more, but I hadn't heard from Machinima. I hadn't got a single email, not a single message on the forum saying like, hey, we went ahead and posted your video. Nothing. I got absolutely nothing. So I guess I naively thought that I was part of their people. So I had made like a little teaser trailer for the second episode, and that didn't get uploaded. So I was really confused, and I sent an email to them like, hey, you guys uploaded the first episode. Here's, I want to put out a teaser trailer for the next episode that I'm working on, so people know that, more is coming. And I never heard anything. And that really confused me. I can't remember where or who told me the specifics that I actually needed a contract to just kind of have content put out automatically, so to say. So after like a month or so of just not hearing anything from Machinima on like what I could do to up my chances, why that video in particular was selected, like what to sustain and what to improve on, essentially, I was really motivated because all these comments were amazing. It's really profound to have that kind of validation as a little 13, 14-year-old kid who was never seen in school. Like, that was my first time really being seen, my words heard, and that was absolutely amazing. If I could relive that experience, I would do anything. But yeah, I just kind of accepted like, hey, okay, I clearly need to keep at it, and maybe they'll extend a contract my way, who knows. I'm starting to get to know more and more people in the forums that are partnered, and we'll see what happens. So I think this was still late 2008 is when Machinima partnered with Brown University's Ivy Film Festival, and that was monumental because it was a real validation for the medium altogether. And all these crazy talented people submitted. I put together a short, dramatic short, because I had seen a lot of silly Halo Machinima, a lot of comedy, but I hadn't seen too much of serious topics or serious dramatic shorts. So I'm like, okay, I want to experiment. This is a bougie, artsy film festival. The judges will probably appreciate something that's not toilet humor, something with a little more depth. So I tried my best, and I cringe every time I look at it now, but I did win an award for a video called Why God Why. It was a short, dramatical piece addressing the topic of suicide. And yeah, the day after they announced that I'd won the award is when, lo and behold, I get a random email from someone at Machinima saying, hey, we would like to extend a contract your way. Here are the terms. We understand you're a minor. I don't know how they knew that, but your parents will need to sign, stuff like that. So my parents, my dad in particular, was a very difficult man to impress. And he always looked at gaming as kind of like, why aren't you outside doing boy things, tossing a football around, stuff like that. So he didn't quite get my artistic side, the writer within, so to say. So when I won the award, that was really my first time experiencing a note of pride from the old man. So that was big, that was huge. And when I got the contract and he saw that actual money was going to be put into my little child account that he'd set up all those years ago, he was really impressed. And he gladly signed along with my mom. And I didn't get monetized pay for that video that won the award, even though it went on to accumulate more and more views, which I thought was pretty whack. But I used the money from the award to buy a proper desktop for myself, because at that point we only had the family desktop, and I was tired of sharing. I was tired of editing on this piece of shit gateway from 1999, and yeah, it was time for an upgrade. So I really wanted to invest in this as a future, like, that I could potentially make more and more off of, and bring the medium of machinima into a higher and higher status of respect, elevated, viewership and stuff like that. That didn't happen. I joined at a very weird time. I was kind of one of the early few. I've seen a few videos where they describe the people that signed on from 2007 to 2008 or 2009 as the first wave of content creators. So I guess in that respect, I was part of the first wave. They were still figuring a lot of shit out. And thankfully, they didn't get me with that in perpetuity contract that I've been hearing so much about over the years. My contract ended formally in 2012 or 2013. But I had stopped making content around 2012 anyways. But yeah, it was like what? 75 cents, $1.75 per 1,000 monetized views, something like that. I have to dig up the contract to get the specifics. If I misspoke, I'll probably annotate that in a subtitle or something. But it was pretty straightforward for the most part, the process. It wasn't a bad process. I mean, everyone likes to kind of shit on the management at Machinima, and rightly so. They did fuck up and all that. But in the respect of actually, like, the partnership process, it wasn't that bad. It was pretty straightforward. We had a internal Facebook group meant for collaboration, for questions and stuff like that. They were pretty responsive on there. Nobody really collaborated on there, though. I've had people over the years ask me, like, oh my god, you worked for Machinima? Do you know Lyle? Do you know Dex? Do you know Mr. Sark and Hutch and Cena? And I'm like, no, I don't know any of them. Except Dex. That's a fun fact. Dex didn't like me. And the only reason I remember that is because I have an alternate gamer tag called Sudzaru, which came from him. He hated serious Halo Machinima. Him and Lyle, but I never spoke to Lyle directly. But yeah, Dex kind of had, we had a few back and forths. It's all in good fun. I don't hold hostility against him. To my understanding, he's doing well. Good for him. Good for you, mate. Where was I? But yeah, when I first onboarded, they detailed the process. All we do is essentially, there was a Dropbox synced to your assigned manager. You drop the video in there, you give them a heads up, hey, the video's popped in the Dropbox. I filled out the metadata form and all that, we're good to go. And they would just kind of upload it at their discretion. They give you a heads up sometimes of when to expect it up. Other times you're kind of left in the dark. And that's just kind of the way it was, really. But yeah, like I was saying, I did join at a really weird time, because shortly after I joined is when the forums shut down, which everyone hated. We really tried to keep that community alive through websites of our own. One was Virtual Flicks. I forget who started it. I want to say it was, I think it was Drifter. It was either Drifter or someone from some actual Machinima like group. A lot of us were into groups. You had Euphorian Films, who was composed of Drifter and some other people. You had Angsty Studios, I think, was another big one. They were composed of 3 guys. Gassy Mexican was part of Angsty Studios, I believe. Who else? But yeah, we were all kind of grouped into our own little social circles. And most of us ended up going to Virtual Flicks to continue that collaboration, because the internal Facebook group that Machinima had set up, it was really more towards just marketing. What are the current trends? What kind of topics can we get away with? How do you format X, Y, and Z to meet compliance here? I don't know. It was pretty dead for the most part, to be honest with you. But in that respect, the actual Machinima staff, they did do a fair amount of like, hey, this is what we're noticing. If anyone would like to tackle this, by all means. When they started to get around to making sub-channels, they let us know in like a newsletter, hey, we want to branch out. We're noticing that Let's Plays and commentaries, they're all the rage these days, and we want to be the hub for that content. If any of you would like to, if any of you are interested in being a director for this new Machinima Respawn channel, just let us know. We'll put you in contact with an alternate manager that'll be under that sub-branch, essentially. So I think my guy's name was Anthony. He reached out to me. He was real cool. And I was telling him, yeah, I might as well give it a try. I mean, because it sounded like a quick buck, to be perfectly honest with you. I had a lot of things that I wanted to get to refine my craft of actual Machinima. I wanted to get that fancy schmancy hop hog. That was kind of, you either had like the cheap dazzle, the HD recording hop hog, or the, balls to the wall Blackmagic Intensity Pro that you kind of install into your desktop. So I wanted to get a nice microphone too for better voiceover. I wanted to, get a license for After Effects instead of, yo-hoing my way around. But yeah, Respawn launched, and I decided, I'm already pretty damn good at Halo 3. Fuck it, I'll upload some MLG matches. I'll slap a commentary on there, call it good. We'll see what happens.
Fucking dirty no-scopes. Go check it out. Let Comeback know what you thought of his vid in the comments. Nasty.
Wait for it, bam!
How do you think he got that name, Stone Filmer?
Just big fan of rocks.
And ended up doing decent. And I was really annoyed by how on par the viewership was to actual films that I put a lot of work into. In my mind, there was no reason why a proper film on the main Machinima channel had only 15,000 views, 25,000 views, but a really simple 20-minute to make commentary gets like 30,000, 40,000. It just didn't make sense to me. But I'm like, you know what, fuck it. This is the trend. I need money. So be it. And I continue to do more and more content for Respawn. And I started to notice as time went on that I wasn't putting as much time into actual Machinimas. And that started to really bum me out. And I think once Realm launched, that's when I had signed with Realm, by the way. That's when I was doing, by the time Realm came out, I was doing, I think, three shows. I was doing the Xbox Live Arcade Hunter, which was me just kind of doing first impressions of new releases on the Xbox Live Arcade, because they had just launched that, and it was being really heavily promoted as like this huge milestone for indie developers. I wanted to help them out because there was some really good shit on there, like Castle Crashers and all kinds of awesome stuff. So that did really well, and then that evolved into just a generalized The Arcade Hunter, because Anthony from Respawn was like, hey, this is good, but we think you could branch off into some of the stuff on Steam. Maybe if you get a PlayStation in the future, cover some of that stuff. But yeah, I was doing the Arcade Hunter and another show mostly on Realm called Memory Lane. And that one was pretty much just a nostalgia trip. You're going back, using an emulator to just capture footage from old school games. And yeah, both of those shows were very lucrative. And they got me a pretty decent amount of subscribers because I wasn't doing too hot up until those two shows. I was at a little over 1,000, I believe, until Realm launched and I started to double down on the Respawn and Realm content. And within like 6 months or maybe even less, I had jumped to like 1,500 subscribers. So like my all-time max, I believe, was either somewhere between 25 and 3,000 subs. And it's not a lot, I know, but considering the different age, I guess, and the very short time that I got that big bump in subscribers after Realm launched, I think it's safe to say that had I continued, it would have rapidly spiked or continued to spike. But yeah, like I said, I really didn't like that I was abandoning what I was truly passionate about, which is writing. And my last year of high school, I had my final creative writing class, and I just really started to rediscover who I was. And like high school in general is all about figuring out who you are, right? Maybe even up until college. But I knew that I'm a writer, man. I'm gonna write these damn short films. I'm gonna give it one more go. Maybe it'll blow up again. Because across the board, Machinima as a medium, it was dying. I would check every so often, and it was very rare, man, to see anything go past 10, 15. I guess exceptions to that would be stuff heavily promoted, really, like Sanity Not Included. That's a traditional Machinima, and that did really, really well. Arby and Chief, traditional Machinima, did really, really well. All of those were heavily promoted, very well received, and it was just a shame that not all of us kind of got that sort of promotion. They did a little bit. I don't want to sound like they completely abandoned Machinima creators. There was that one, God, what was that fucking channel, man? There was one, it was a show I think they finally made for a few episodes, and it was kind of spotlighting actual films. I forgot the dude's name, but he had spotlighted Halo Reach, dramatic short I did called Curiosity. And that was cool. You know, I was like, oh, this is a nice step in the right direction. But that very quickly stopped. And it really showed their priorities as a network. Like, hey, we tossed y'all a bone. We really tried, but it's just not it anymore. Get with the times or get lost. That's essentially how I took it. So after a final bout, man, of trying to put a few... Because I saw that Sanity was doing well, so I'm like, oh, if it's stupid comedy, it's fucking stupid comedy. So what? So I put out a few random silly shorts.
That's a penny! A fucking penny! Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. That there's one of them Sangheili failers.
Are you shitting me?
And they did okay, but it was still not enough, man. It wasn't enough to justify sinking all this time and effort into. As a result, my grades were slipping every time that I decided to give traditional Machinima a go again. So I ended up putting out a video at some point saying, hey, this is too much, I'm fucking done. So I think at that point, I really got into game design because I had shifted from Halo to Unreal 3, and I was really starting to fall in love with level design and cinematics, because when you learn an actual game engine, it's not as simple as body acting some Spartans and going into theater and filming what you shot. No, you have to literally use game design methodology to craft a well-lit, well-running level that's not overly bombarding resources, no issues with stuttering. There was so much I had to learn when I was doing the Unreal Engine 3 stuff, and it was really cool. Like, I was like, okay, I could do this. If I could have like refined that and maybe gone to school for game design or something to supplement what I had learned on my own. The goal, the dream essentially, was to work at BioWare doing cinematics for Mass Effect or something to that effect, you know what I mean? But life happens, man. I started to get into a lot of personal shit once I graduated. I kind of took a year to just kind of figure out what I wanted to do. I was working at a jewelry warehouse, and I had intended to sign up for the Marine Corps. That took a while to get going, and the day I was supposed to leave, they're like, all right, here's your contract. And I look, and it's not even remotely close to the job I picked. So I said, nope. So I went Army instead. I needed a way, man. I needed a way to fund college. And my old man practically raised us military. I thought, hell, I'll coast through an enlistment, get this free school, it'll be fine. And for the most part it was. But how very quickly life kind of gets in the way. Well, not get in the way, but it dramatically alters whatever you plan for yourself. Because my first year in is when I met the missus. We popped out our first kid shortly after. And it just became about my family and staying sane in the Army, you know, because there's a lot of stupid shit in the Army. And no doubt you've been seeing some of that with the short films I've been doing lately, and I plan to go balls to the wall with all that stuff. But yeah, once I was getting close to getting out of the military, that's when I was like, okay, I want to really double down on the writing stuff again. Because I had written here and there over the years, usually during like a 24-hour shift or something like that, but I never truly progressed. I kind of went stagnant. And it wasn't until my Commander got published by a Big 5 publisher that I was like, man, if this motherfucker can get published, I can do this shit. So I had always wanted to write a novel, and I finally did it. My last year in the Army, I was downrange in Afghanistan, and I had nothing but time in the world. So I wrote a really shitty, looking back, first novel, but I did it, you know what I mean? And that's the most crucial part. I did it. And we started to do children's books, my wife and I, the following months when I got back, because we had all these crazy ideas, and it just kind of made sense because our kid was 5 or 6 at the time, and he was expressing what he liked and didn't like. We're like, hey, show him a rough draft of a book. What do you think about this book, man? And, you know, if it had his seal of approval, the missus would illustrate the pages, and off to the presses it went. But yeah, ended up getting my MFA after, because I had used most of my GI Bill for a bachelor's in cybersecurity, because that's what I do now. I work in cybersecurity. And I'm really glad I didn't do the game design stuff, because I've heard horror stories about how hard it can be with that specific degree. But yeah, I did IT work in the Army, so I figured cybersecurity degree, just screw it, I might as well. I already had certifications that covered like half the degree. So it was an easy one to get, and then I used the remaining chunk of my GI Bill on the MFA in creative writing, which I just finished this last July. So it's been a lot of focusing on novels, and my time with Machinima really helped me dialogue-wise. When you start off balls to the wall with screenwriting, you get a real good sense of what kind of flows cinematically, which is kind of the trend that books are trying to go these days. The old school, you know, massive blocks of exposition and backstory, fancy words like the archaic English and stuff like that, that's not really a thing anymore. It's more, how do I make this chapter as cinematic as I can get it? So my screenwriting experience from the Machinima days really, really paid off because like I've had so many peers review my work. I've had so many different mentors that are, you know, Big Five published, Harper. They need to find a way to keep these iPhones from overheating, I swear to God. But yeah, I've had so many mentors and like peers review my work, and one of the key bits of feedback I always get is, man, your scenes are always crisp. You know, it almost flows like a movie. Your dialogue is spot on. Everything sounds natural. How are you doing this with, you know, because I'm not that well read and nobody ever believes me, which they're like, how do you get good at writing without being well read? And I'm like, well, I did a lot of screenwriting experience. You know, I watch subtitles for literally everything I watch, and I think little things like that are just as sufficient as reading, you know, classic literature and stuff like that, because it's all about getting a gauge of how to best convey your story. The word choice. Is the scene clear enough and vivid enough? Am I using too much imagery? Am I using redundancy? Stuff like that. So I really feel like I had a strong foundation with scene construction due to my days working for Machinima, doing the traditional Machinima stuff at that. So I really, it sucks that they shifted their focus as hard as they did. Like one of the biggest pivots I've ever seen in my life. And it really sucks that the medium as a whole has kind of died down to near non-existent levels. I rarely see anyone making quality Machinima anymore. And that makes me sad, you know, because I thought it was a really cool art form. I thought, if anything, it would evolve. I thought it was going to get bigger and bigger and better. That did not happen. So hopefully there's some kind of resurgence. Like I told some guy in one of the last video's comments, if the fucking mullet can come back in style, I think anything can. So but yeah, what else on Machinima? I mean, like I said, it wasn't the worst partnership. I mean, yeah, they screwed us over on payments, I found out, which really sucked. Because when YouTube started partnering people on their own, and it started coming to light how much videos really were capable of making, that sucked. Because I think I had maybe 3 or 4 videos go over 100K back in the day, which was a huge deal. And I think I got maybe $250 from one of them that within that fiscal quarter had gotten 150. It was some Mass Effect short that I did. And to see just how much people get paid for a 150,000 monetized video these days, it's like, oh my God, I got screwed. But it is what it is. You know, I can't complain too much. I got skills that I probably wouldn't have gotten had I not done it. I met a lot of really terrific people. People ask me often who I worked with, who was my kind of social circle at the time. I'm not going to go into great detail about the entirety of my social circle because most of them have moved on to life, you know what I mean? Only a handful of the actual Machinima creators that I knew and was friends with, only a handful are still on YouTube. But for the most part, they've moved on to other stuff. I think the biggest right now is Drifter, for sure. Drifter and I started at the same time. We were both doing Halo Machinimas. He got his released through his little group's contracted person, and then eventually they extended a contract to him for Respawn, and I guess he just kind of stopped making traditional Machinima at that point because he was more into the COD scene. That COD scene is ultimately what kind of pushed me away personally, because I just refused to invest the kind of time that I invested into Halo, getting good at Halo, for another game. It didn't make sense to me because Halo was still that primetime MLG game. So I'm like, why would I downgrade? But the MLG stuff didn't work out anyway, so fuck if I know. I did go to an event though. In my defense, I went to MLG Orlando, which was 2008, I think, and we didn't place, but just the fact that I did good, like I didn't go negative a single match. The fact that I did good against people that were good enough to actually come and compete, people that were on top of the old game battles, ladders, that was really cool and kind of satisfying. But yeah, the COD stuff blew up and everything else just kind of fell by the wayside. I refused to hop on the COD train. Looking back, I probably could have milked that a little bit until the next big thing came around, and I probably, you know, who knows, I could probably have made a living off of this. But I would not trade my kids for the world. I would not trade my wife for the world. I live a good life. You know, it all worked out. God is good. Another big name that I just recently found out actually how huge Cory from NewScape Productions got. I had no idea Cory blew up like that, to the point of having staff and all these different channels. I'm just looking at this like, oh my God, this is a guy that we just kind of dicked around in Halo like almost daily.
Okay, I'm assembling a team. A-team? Larry, Jack, Stone.
There's even there's a prank video that I unlisted. I should probably, I don't know if I want to make it public though. I'll link it in the description. But it's a prank call that me and Cory did to some sex shop in Las Vegas, and it's fucking phenomenal. I love it so much.
Better do the Jewish voice.
Hello.
Hello!
You don't gotta yell. Who is this?
Hello, this is Miguel Lorenstein. I bought some products from you yesterday.
But yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool to see people that I know are good guys find their success and just achieve everything they worked so hard to achieve. So kudos to Drifter and Cory in particular. I think those are the main ones you guys have probably heard of, because they're both pretty big. Everyone else kind of fell by the wayside because we were at our core, you know, traditional machinima makers. I never knew John Graham. I never got the chance to meet him. He kind of kept to himself, I believe, for the most part, which really sucks, man. It would have been a dream come true to just even be a voice extra in something he did, because I looked up to that fool so much. Oh, I did, if any of you remember the show Pregame Lobby, the gentleman that did that, his name was Harabic, Michael. We kind of did like a little podcast interview at one point. He's a real cool guy. I wish he kept at it too, man. I have no idea what he's doing now. Oh man, I've been really digging through memory lane, just trying to remember all of what happened. But yeah, when they deleted all their videos, I was just, I saw it coming. First of all, I don't think a lot of people know that they started privatizing well before the complete privatization of videos. I haven't seen one single video addressing Machinima talk about that. It was not all at once. It really was not. At some point in 2014 or 15, I think, is when I signed into this channel. I had just gotten access back to this channel because Google's a bitch. And I just saw that because I had playlists available listing everything that I did that was on the main page, on Respawn, on Realm, and I just saw gray after gray after gray, and a few commentaries that were still public. And I thought, what the fuck? I reached out to someone, but I never heard anything. I thought, okay, maybe it's just some weird glitch, because I wasn't checking that channel every day like that. Like I said, I was in the army, I moved on. They were sucking my soul. I was too busy to notice things like this. And then in 2019, I'm just browsing Reddit, and I see that the the collapse had happened and they privatized everything, and I'm just like, son of a bitch, I should have saved the few commentaries that I could have. But I have a handful of stuff. I'll probably make that a playlist, maybe. A lot of it's kind of cringe looking back, but it's good history, it's good fun. I don't know what the future holds for machinima as a genre. I hope to see it undergo some kind of resurgence. There's a lot of talented people right now that I see making some pretty funny little short skits, but I would really love to see the level of effort and time and care that went into machinima back in the day. Like, there was a lot of extra mileage shit that we did for the sake of making this medium somewhat respectable, somewhat legit. And to see all those efforts just kind of kaput, it sucks, man. It really does. So that's why right now I'm getting back into it really just for the love of it. I'm still not the most social person in the world, so it's like, yeah, I could go get myself a nice little camera, sure, but I got no one to film with. I'm not gonna be some horrible parent and just expose my kids to YouTube and use them for skits. That's maybe one day, but I probably won't publicize that. It'll probably be some internal, like, friends and family thing. But yeah, I still would like some of my ideas to come to life in some way. A lot of it's not suited towards novels or even short stories, which is pretty much what I specialize in these days. So I'm like, okay, this can only work as a skit. How can I make this a skit, man? And just one day recently, it just kind of popped into head, like, hey, you used to do this. So yeah, I have a lot of stuff that I want to film. It's been a real joy getting back to it. I've tried to reach out to some of my old friends that used to do this with me, and it just kind of, we'll see what happens, but I don't think anyone's gonna come back to help, so we'll see. It looks like right now I'm kind of on my own, but the future's bright. I think Halo is on the right track as a game, enough to kind of get a certain fan base back. And once the fan base is there, once, like, I heard the final season of Red vs. Blue is going to be shot in Infinite, once all of that's kind of put into place, that's probably prime time for a chance of some kind of restoration, I guess, of machinima. I don't know. I write for a reason. I'm not the best at speaking. But yeah, that's the most I could think of to talk about with my time with machinima. I didn't have a formal, like, farewell once my contract ended. Like I said, I kind of fell by the wayside 2012-ish, and I never heard from anyone ever again. But my contract, I do remember clearly, it was not lifelong. It was just about to end when I decided to give up. So, do I have any regrets? Sure. I mean, ultimately life worked out, like I said, but I guess the biggest advice I would give to anyone who is looking into YouTube as a platform for monetization and stuff like that, just keep at it, okay? Just have fun with it. Try to stay consistent. Have a niche. You know, I went by the ridiculous name of Stone Filmer for a long time. I tried so many different times to break away from it. I probably should have stuck with it, to be honest with you. That's something that, I guess that's something else I could talk on, actually. I got in trouble for using the name Stone Filmer towards midway through my contract, because I had released a video for some Pac-Man game that was really colorful, and whenever we make, like, an alias, we try to kind of embody the persona of that alias. So, you know, I would try to, like, kind of talk like that droopy Californian at times, you know, and it's ultimately a character. And I got in trouble because some fuck decided to go on the Facebook group and be like, this guy's encouraging kids to do drugs and I don't like it. I'm like, okay, I'm not dealing with this shit. That's when I changed to Soapy Suds. But yeah, a lot of infighting. There was a lot of infighting in that partnership community. But like I said, it sucks that they're gone, sure, but the partnership experience wasn't the worst. But yeah, if you guys have any specific questions, I'm kind of going off the dome for the most part, just going off what I really remember. If you guys have any specific, if you got any specific questions, just comment below. I'll be more than happy to answer to the best of my ability. Hopefully this was interesting in some aspect. I don't see a whole lot of partners other than the super big dogs talk about their experience, so hopefully this was entertaining. I'll see y'all later. Turtles!